Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kumi Now. Thank you for joining us for this latest online gathering as we talk today about Bethlehem. I used to live in Bethlehem, so this topic is very close to my heart, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Zogby Al-Zogby about it. My name is Sarah, and I am hosting today from Lincoln, Nebraska, which is located on the traditional territory that was taken from the Pawnee, Oto, and Kansa indigenous peoples. As we learn about the colonization of Palestine, I encourage all of us to take a moment to consider our own part in colonization. Before we start, I'd like to remind you that our webinar is being broadcast live on Facebook and will be posted to YouTube. If you want to make sure your photo does not appear online, please turn off your camera. We would also love it if you could quickly share one of the links that are being posted in the chat so that others may join. As usual, if you have an idea or project you'd like to share for about 5 minutes in a future meeting, please email us at kumi@kuminow.com. Now it is time for our weekly activism survey. So we will launch the poll. Note that there are 3 questions, so you'll need to scroll down to see the third question. I can read the questions out loud for us. The first question is, what actions did you take related to the last topic, education, funding, and policy from last week? Perhaps you made and shared pictures, or you sent a book about justice, worked on planning a future screening or art show, took another action, or didn't take any action in the past week. Question 2, looking ahead to today, how many Israeli settlers live in 19 settlements and settlement outposts in the Bethlehem governorate? Over 1,000, over 10,000, over 100,000, or over 1 million? And question 3, which Kumi partner runs the Wall Museum? The Arab Educational Institute, AEI, Ma'an Development Center, the Palestine Museum of Natural History, or Stop the Wall? I'll just give you a few moments to finish up with that. All right, so thank you everyone who participated. So the answer to number 2 is the third answer. More than 100,000 settlers live around Bethlehem. And then the answer to number 3 is the first answer, Arab Educational Institute, also known as AEI. And we'll be learning more about the Wall Museum later on a bit. All right. So we hope that you will find this session interesting and informative. I'd like to start by having everyone that you'll be hearing and seeing today introduce themselves. So first Omar, and then Zogby Al-Zogby.
Hi friends, I hope you enjoyed the time off when I was sick. I'm back and feeling very well. So looking forward to be with you today. Abu Tariq.
It's great having you, and thanks for having me. My name is Zogby Zogby. I'm the founder and director of WIAM, the Palestinian Conflict Transformation Center. I am happy to be with you, and in a few minutes we'll see together about the work of WIAM, which is next to the wall, which is next to Rachel's tomb, next to the wall and next to the Rachel's tomb, and where His Holiness the Pope prayed on. And as you know, let me start with a little bit before the video about Rachel's tomb and the Oslo Agreement. According to the Oslo Agreement signed in 1995, the location of the tomb falls in Area C of the Bethlehem district under temporary Israeli security and civil control, keeping the right for Palestinians to use the main road. The right of the Palestinians to use the main road where Area C was supposed to be transferred to the Palestinian Authority, within 18 months of the inauguration of the Palestinian Jurisdiction Council. So anyhow, without going into details about the agreement, I love the term rest in peace, Rachel. The question which poses itself nowadays, will Rachel rest in peace after knowing that the Palestinians are living under occupation, that the Palestinians are in captivity in the big prison under occupation and not allowed to go to Jerusalem or pass by Rachel's tomb?
And Abu Tariq, we will get into the discussion, but we would like you to more introduce yourself, and please don't forget to introduce that you are also part of the Sabil General Assembly and have been at the early stages of Sabil.
I believe that's enough. My name is Zoghbi. You can call me by either name. I am a resident of Bethlehem. My family lives in this area for hundreds of years. And I am an activist. I am also part of Sabil. Was one of the few people who were at the beginning. And, I'm not a theologian. I am a grassroots theologian, if you'd like to say. And I love liberation theology. And I run the center where I founded, as well as I am working with different people from different ages to change the situation, to transform what is going on to a better life. And now we will watch a 5-minute about documentary about We Am. I hope you will see what we do rather than only talking about it.
Before this, I think Abu Tariq, we will share the news, an update from the news, and then immediately go into the film, if it's okay, just a news update. Is it okay if I share the screen, Sarah?
Yeah. Thank you, Zoghbi, for giving us that taste of what is coming. And now Omar will give us kind of the local update, and then we'll get to see the video that Zoghbi is talking about.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and looking forward to Abu Tariq's presentation. In the picture, you see Hijazi al-Qawasmi. Can you see the picture, Sarah? Yes. In the picture, you see Hijazi al-Qawasmi. He's in his late 30s. He's a parent of 4 children. This picture was taken just before he was arrested by the Israeli army. He comes from a family that has paid a very high price resisting the occupation. 2 of his brothers were killed by the Israeli army, and 2 of his other brothers are also serving in jail. He is kissing his son farewell, Ahmad, who's 11 years old. Who is a cancer patient. So please, we're asking people to remember Hijazi and his family in their prayers as he is currently now in Israeli jail. In the picture is Dr. Hazem al-Julani. He's a Jerusalemite. He was shot earlier this week and killed by the Israeli army. Israel claims that he tried. He's a doctor, 50 years old, married with 4 children. He was leaving the Al-Aqsa Mosque when Israel claims that he tried to stab one of the soldiers. He was shot at the scene and announced dead later on at the hospital. So we're also asking you to remember the family. He's a doctor that is known in Jerusalem and very much liked and respected by the community. COVID continues to spread, unfortunately, in both Palestine and Israel. Israel today recorded for the again a record number of cases with over 11,000 cases. The Palestinian territories, there's over 2,000 cases. On average, there are 80 people who are dying in both Palestine and Israel on a daily basis. So the numbers are extremely high, although the vaccination is also high. So it seems very bad news for the world, since Israel is the leading country with vaccination. And especially we're speaking today with Bethlehem, who has been hit very hard economically and socially, because the tourism sector has completely come to a stop. Nizar Banat, the Palestinian activist who was killed, the PA announced that 14 of the officers who are accused of being part of his death were scheduled to go into court, yet their court has been delayed until the 22nd of September. So this remains an issue for many Palestinian activists who are very much worried about the deteriorating situation in the Holy Land, both in Palestine and Israel. This week was also the World Suicide Prevention Day, and numbers have increased very high around the world. Many predict that this is because of COVID-19. However, in both Palestine and Israel, there were over than 9,000 attempts of committing suicide. Over 9,000 in both Palestine and Israel, with a bigger percentage of Palestinian citizens of Israel than Israeli citizens. Unfortunately, there were over 600 people who have succeeded to take their own lives. So please remember the people who are facing depression in your prayers. This photo is of Kayed. Kayed has been for over 53 days under hunger strike. Kayed is a bodybuilder. He's been arrested since last September under administrative detention. Israel refuses to let him know why he is being arrested and and he has started a hunger strike. There are another 7 Palestinian prisoners who are over 30 days undergoing a hunger strike. And tension is extremely high in Israeli jails, with over 5,000 Palestinian prisoners are considering or might be announcing very soon a full hunger strike throughout all Israeli prisons. Tension is high. People are angry, and there's lots of frustration. So I turn things back to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Omar, for giving us such news that's good to know, but also very sobering, I think. So we turn now to our main issue of the week, Bethlehem, and our special guest, Zogby Zogby, the founder and director of WeAm, the Palestinian Conflict Transformation Center. The Zogby family and my family actually have known each other a long time, and I remember playing with his children when I was little. So I am very excited to hear from him today and to learn about what is going on in Bethlehem right now. As he speaks, if you think of a question you want to ask him in the question and answer period, please type it in the chat, and then I'll try to get to as many as possible of them at the end. So I think that we can show the video that Zogby was talking about now, unless Zogby would like to say a few more words first.
No, that's okay. We start with the video. Thank you.
Conflict is an immutable part of society and also a necessary social process of change. WEAM helps to resolve disputes within the Palestinian community by complementing the traditional Arab form of mediation called sulha with Western models of conflict resolution. Our main areas of service include women, youth, children, and international diplomacy. WEAM pursues the principles of nonviolence, justice, and reconciliation through the following areas of our work. Through the work of sulha mediation, WEAM seeks to bring constructive reconciliation to community disputes. The sulha process involves two or more conflicting parties seeking a neutral third-party mediator to resolve their dispute, and our staff takes on the role of the mediator. By doing so, WEAM works to restore peace between conflicting parties, which allows those involved to move past the dispute and live their lives without seeking revenge. This ultimately benefits the entire community, reversing feelings of derision and replacing it with those of solidarity. The women's group works for gender equality, advocacy, and the abolition of all forms of oppression by empowering women to take a more active role in their community and in Palestinian society. WEAM offers women in Bethlehem a space where they can form support networks and develop their leadership skills. As part of our women's program, we offer workshops and training in the fields of the democratic process, reproductive health, nonviolence, and conflict mediation. We also have a job creation program that aims to create opportunities to improve the quality of life among low-income women and enable them to sustain themselves and their households. Children are full of curiosity and passion for learning new things. At WEAM, our young people are both intelligent and talented. They wish to apply themselves and channel their experiences into creative and educational pursuits. During our weekly children's group meetings, we provide children with educational classes on internet literacy, English, democracy, and national independence. We also offer programs in the creative and performing arts, such as drawing, painting, clay shaping, mosaics, music, dance, and drama. WEAM takes every opportunity to expose young people to life outside of Bethlehem, with trips to museums, nature reserves, and nearby cities in the West Bank. The WEAM Youth Program consists of a group of teens and young adults here in Bethlehem who participate in international youth exchanges, social activism, nonviolence training, and voluntary service. The weekly meetings provide opportunities for youth to discuss the problems they see facing the community and develop innovative solutions to those problems. Youth also learn about human rights, gender issues, and civil society empowerment. WEAM youth participate in international cultural exchanges with other youth groups, visiting groups in the United States, England, Denmark, Korea, Italy, Scotland, and more. WEAM also works to promote international diplomacy. As a part of our cultural and educational tourism program, we host discussions and guide trips that offer groups and individuals unique insight into the complex social, political, and religious aspects of the Holy Land. We visit popular tourist sites as well as meet with locals in order to appreciate the diversity in this land. Visitors not only learn about the history and religious aspects of these locations, but also learn more about contemporary events, the politics of the area, and how the occupation affects the land and the people. A short list of some of our other programs include nonviolent peer mediation education programs in West Bank schools, our seasonal summer camp and Christmas Smiles program for youth and children, advocacy and nonviolent actions in the community, education on gender roles and society, as well as interfaith activities. For more information on our mission and programs and how you can get involved, please visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/WEAMcenter or our website. And if you are in Bethlehem, please stop by anytime. We welcome groups, both local and international, to visit and discuss the conflict, our hopes for the future, and share in some tea, coffee, or a meal. For specific inquiries, please contact our email address or our telephone number. Thank you, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Well, thank you. This is where we live and where we work. Bethlehem. Bethlehem becomes smaller and smaller. and it is surrounded by the unholy trinity, by the settlements, and there are at least 25 settlements around Bethlehem with a population over 120,000. The wall, also, which is besieging Bethlehem from almost all corners, including where used to be Rachel's tomb, and it is, choking us and preventing us from reaching out to Jerusalem or to our fields or between our relatives and friends. And the third one, the bypass roads, which is cutting Bethlehem into many pieces, more than you think. Bethlehem has hit hard by the occupation. 87% of the land is under Israeli control, whether for the use of settlements or Israeli soldiers or security purposes. And Bethlehem becomes tinier and tinier as a result of also the immigration. We are facing lots of these difficulties under occupation, of course, and it is not a benign occupation. And the situation gets worse and worse with COVID-19. COVID-19, up till this moment, we are suffering from. The active cases in Bethlehem itself nowadays, 134 cases in the whole land, around 32,416. The percentage of people who has been vaccinated in Bethlehem, 61% with the first vaccination. And 33%, only 33% in Bethlehem has the 2 vaccination. While we see in Israel, 78% of the people are vaccinated over 16 years. So as a result of COVID, as a result of the occupation, no tourism nowadays. No tourism, and could you imagine how many families don't have an income since March 2020? You are talking about 21,000 people in all Palestine working for tourism and pilgrimage. And most of these businesses, hotels, souvenir shops, restaurants are closed. So the number of people who are suffering as a result of this unholy trinity, COVID, occupation, as well as the political deteriorating situation, is increasing. The problems that face us nowadays is the issue of indifference. Many people in the world are not aware of what is going on here, especially all of us under the curse of COVID. And I feel lots of responsibility. The unemployment in Bethlehem reached more than 25%, especially with those who used to work in tourism. And many who have children don't have enough bread and milk on the table. And we face a lot of violence. And just while few minutes ago, the Israeli came and imprisoned the wife of a Palestinian activist next to our home. And this is a daily event. And as you know, with what happened with the prisoners who seek freedom, I wish that Omar talked about the 6 people who tried to seek freedom, who are exhausted and tired of being under prison, like those 4,650 Palestinian political prisoners up till this moment in the prison. 520 are being held without charge or trial because of the British emergency regulation laws. 40 women are in prison, and there are 544 who are serving life sentences. Could you imagine to serve a life sentence in a prison which is not for human beings, and only it is a punishment for people who seek freedom? So what's going on is beyond description. And how to be hopeful in these days, how to be optimistic, I don't know. As Howard Zinn says, to be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is because a human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. And I see in this meeting compassion and courage and kindness. You know, and of course, we as Palestinians, and many of you who are committed to our cause, are sacrificing. In order to change the situation, I believe what is needed, struggle, and of course we suffer and sacrifice in order to have a new situation. I think it is the time to change our lenses and to look for a better way of life, and also to exert the pressure on the Israeli government to abide with the international law and to end this lengthy occupation. We need to end the violence by all kinds. We don't want our kids to suffer again and again. And it is enough. How we can change the new lenses and work to end the occupation. And I believe people like you give us hope that the coming years not going to be as it was, unless if we are silent. We need to work harder and to do whatever is possible to find ways to help people. We are not talking about only to help those who are not working. Lots of people are not working as a result of COVID, and already they are in bad shape. To help people not to immigrate, I tell you frankly, we will suffer from immigration the moment the borders are open and the flights continue to be. So many people already have immigrated in their mind, in their soul, in their spirit, and they are looking for an opportunity to leave the country. We hope through Sabil and other organizations like us to help people not to immigrate, because we don't want to see Bethlehem as a museum. Already we see Christians in the Holy Land are less than 45,000. And in Bethlehem and the Triangle of Bethlehem, which was the majority of the Christians in the area. And I'm not only concerning and about Christians, but also I'm talking about Palestinians in general. So what is needed is more bridges and more activism and more ways to work harder to end this evil occupation. And when we talk about occupation, we are not against Jews. We are against the system which is terrible and demoralizes Palestinians as well as Jews. And the Palestinian struggle has been always accommodationist and not rejectionist. We accept a lot of issues beyond our reason. We become reasonable to believe that the peace process will move forward. But at this moment, Israel would like to be larger, to expand more land, to take more territory, to build settlements, to encircle us more and more. So I believe, again, in the grassroots movement, like Sabil and others, to end this occupation. We need to resume our pilgrimage and tourism as soon as possible. And we would like to tell you there is room in the inn. You know, there are lots of room in the inn. And we need to give hope to those people who have no jobs, to those families who have children in school at the universities. We need to find a different formula to address all of our issues, to help people with dignity and responsibility. Probably this is what I want to say, you know, and we is one of the civil society movement that try to address the needs of the local community in a holistic way by providing some food, by helping in health, by trying to offer psychological and social support, by walking in the shoes of others, you know, alleviating their suffering, fighting against their fear, and to help them grow better without hopelessness and helplessness. And I tell you that you are one of the renewable sources of hope, and please don't let us down. Thank you.
Thank you, Zogby, so much for your sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or shall we turn to our activism, time of activism?
Activism and any question, I hope I can answer.
Yeah, we can do the activism, and then we have a question and answer period, and there's a few questions, and I'm sure there'll be more as well. All right, so I can introduce our action for the day and give everyone a few minutes to get started on it, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers with Sophie. So if we can put the slide on screen. Today we would like you to spread the Wall Museum and the story of Rachel's tomb around the world and across the internet. The Wall Museum is maintained by Kumi Now partner Arab Educational Institute and turns the apartheid wall into a platform for Palestinian youth to tell their stories. If you haven't heard of Rachel's tomb, it is a deeply religious location to Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. It is also located in what is supposed to be Palestinian-controlled Bethlehem. However, in the early 2000s, Israel annexed the tomb area to Jerusalem, built a wall around it, and prohibited Palestinians from visiting the site. As Zogby mentioned, Liam is located right next to the tomb there, right up against the wall. Furthermore, dozens of businesses in the area have had to close their doors due to this shutting down. So we have the action on this screen. Zogby, is there anything you would like to add or say about our action time today and what people can be doing to bring awareness to the injustices affecting Bethlehem?
I just want to say it's good to protect and keep the holy places, but most important, people, how really to keep their holiness and their dignity and integrity. And we hope, you know, according to the International Court of Justice, that the wall should be dismantled, as well as the wall around Rachel's tomb. It was used by our Muslim brothers and sisters to pray also there, as well as Christians have respect to it. To be inclusive rather than to be exclusive site only for Jews, and to have the justification to confiscate more land around it and to deprive people from freedom and using their orchards and land.
Absolutely. It's
And probably I would like to add another issue is many people in Bethlehem area, as well as in all Palestine, are suffering from lack of family unification. You know, spouses are not allowed to be with their other spouses, you know, husbands and wives. And this is, we should really have a campaign to exert pressure on Israel. This is a basic right and basic human right for all people to live as a family anywhere in the world in dignity without being hurt or prevented.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Rachel's tomb is kind of it's a representative of what this kind of separation and the wall means to the Palestinian people. All right, so we'll give you some minutes to work. The instructions are on the screen. Please note that you can't actually select the links from the screen, but in the chat, you should be able to access the links to be able to open them. So we'll give you about 5 minutes to get started, and then we'll come back and do a question and answer with Zogby. All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had the time and opportunity to start working on our action for the week. And I have a few questions here for Zogby. The first question was asking, how do the unemployed survive? You know, there's such a high unemployment rate in Bethlehem, and who is helping them?
Yes, thank you. As you know, Palestinians are a community-based society, and the family is a viable socio-economic unit. So they depend on each other family members. And some might work outside, let's say in Jerusalem or in Israel, and provide for the rest. There are other organizations, whether in the civil society organizations or churches or mosques, who try to help, but the challenge is bigger than we think, because it has been for a long time. It's not one event. And many of the remittances of the Palestinians who used to help their families are not coming or are censored and difficult to reach. And WIAM is one of these few organizations who help families, whether food coupons, health, or through job creation. And we have a project still functioning as job creation to help people earn their money in dignity.
Thank you, Zogby. I'm sure that's like a hard program to run right now, and I hope it is going well. We have another question and comment, kind of general, from Fahed Abu Akal, who says, thank you, Mr. Zogby, for your presentation and for hosting our groups from Atlanta. And he's wondering, what is the best thing that we can do to help you and the Palestinian people, in your opinion?
Oh, thank you. It's great to hear from Reverend Fahed, because also he gives me hope as a Palestinian who is living in diaspora, but still active and work like you also. I believe you can help in the advocacy to raise the issue among people and to create lobbies and work harder, if I can say, to exert pressure on the foreign policy of the United States and everywhere. I think also to help organizations like We Am, whether through volunteers or adopting one of the projects, whether with women, whether with children, whether with youth. And especially we are going to try to give hope during Christmas and to have a kind of uplifting spiritual journey, as well as providing families with needs.
Thank you, Zogby. Another question we had is wondering what is happening in the Bethlehem district southwest of the city. So Batir and Tent of Nations, for example, and what is happening southeast of Bethlehem with the growth of settlements.
You know, that's the problem. Israel would like to have more geography and less Palestinian demography. So that's why almost Israel in control of 87% of Bethlehem governorate. The settlements are growing. The number of settlers are also growing. Lack of land will see it more and more for the future generations of the Palestinian people. And the problem is no one is stopping these settlements from expansion. And of course, besides the settlers' violence, who are really threatening the presence of the Palestinians and the farmers. In a few weeks, there will be olive harvest. I hope that many of these organizations, locally as well outside, can send some volunteers to help the farmers and to be with the people, at least to protect them from the settlers' violence, especially during this season. So, and this is really very crucial because nowadays we don't have a lot of expatriates. In the past, we used to have many groups who come, solidarity groups, groups who come to help and volunteer, groups who try to advocate. So we need your voices more actually during these times. Absolutely,
and it's really helpful, I think, to have a point of advocacy to really focus on. So this fall, that can be important. Another question about what is going on the ground right now, asking what is the situation at the moment in Ida refugee camp next to We Am?
Ida refugee camp and We Am are the most targeted places in the recent times. Demonstrations, vigils are held in front of We Am. And of course, the refugee camp of Ida suffer a lot from tear gas, live ammunition, sonic bombs, imprisonment, and there is no single night without raids, and this is not only here, but it is now more than ever in this place because we are next to the wall in a way or another. And it is a line from We Am to Ida refugee camp.
Yeah, I remember I've seen a lot of the tear gassing and in that area. It's very bad.
And we use the tear gas canisters and bullets as our ornament for the Christmas tree, sorry to tell you. We try to transform these lethal weapons to a way to help us see different approach and to plant flower in these canisters.
Yeah, the swords into plowshares. You're
Yes.
doing it directly. Yeah. Someone was also wondering, what is the best way to contribute to WeAm and be sure that it reaches you?
Please send us a message and we can send you the information about transfer, bank transfer, money transfer.
Okay. Yeah.
And we can send it to you.
Right, so the bank transfer is the best way, and I did see you posted your email address farther up in the chat that people can reach out to you for that. All right, there's another question from Diane asking about, are the photos from Samud, et cetera, available if we are writing an article and need illustrations? I'm not sure. I don't have an answer to that. Does anybody, Omar or Ryan, know about that? Is this from the Arab Educational Institute?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, the answer was yes, they are available. Anyone know? I would say if there's any question, you can reach out to the website directly, whoever is from the website. Okay, another question was, do youth exchanges still take place during COVID, perhaps virtually?
Yes, virtually exchanges of youth and also women and spiritual meetings taking place in virtual things. We have also our programs running internally despite of COVID. We are active in different corners of the West Bank and taking into consideration the health conditions and restrictions. We hope that COVID will be over, so people are looking for a day that they can travel, exchange visits, and live more freely.
I have an add-on question to that, wondering, so many of us during COVID have depended on technology, and computers to stay in touch with people. And how much has that been possible for Palestinian families, especially, who are struggling right now?
Sorry, can you say the question again?
Yeah, sorry. So I was saying, so much of us are using computers and technology to stay in touch during COVID. But I'm curious if in Palestine, are people able to stay in touch that way? Like most people have access, or is there, is that a hardship for people right now?
There are a lot of limitations, but still it is the best way to communicate with each other. And some families don't have online services, so they can go to more gatherings or centers. And and especially in the last few months, lots of our students are studying using the internet. So there are a lot of pressure on the internet, and sometimes we can feel the eye-opening over what we're doing and what we send, and viruses are sent and interruptions.
Yeah. It's a challenge. All right, we have another question for you. This is kind of a specific question. It says, is Area A only 13% of the Bethlehem governorate?
Yes, the PA has the control over 13% of Bethlehem governorate, but not all the time, continuously. You know, a portion here, a portion there. And of course, when we say the Palestinian Authority controls the 3%, should be, but actually the Israeli control everything, because the security of so-called the security of Israel can do whatever they want, no respect for any borders, no respect for any agreements, no respect for any kind of arrangements. Israel is in control. As I mentioned earlier, already the Israeli soldiers are besieging a house and imprisoning the wife of an activist who ran away from home to avoid this kind, but they took his wife. Look at this. Imagine to take the wife or the children or the grandfather or the grandmother until the person who is chased to surrender. What kind of a human rights is there?
Yeah, basically holding hostage.
Yes.
Yeah, criminal. It's criminal. We have another question asking, what kinds of conflicts does WEAM deal with in your conflict resolution programming?
It is a good season for conflict. We can, and we drink a lot of coffee because, as T.S. Eliot says, I measure my time in coffee spoons. We are measuring our time in coffee cups. The more conflicts we have, the more coffee cups we drink. Actually, you know, financial issues, employee-employer, family dispute, domestic violence, to name a few, internal issues, land issues. There is no single problem in the world is not here at this moment. We are living in a pressure cooker situation. And of course, when you have such a life, economic, political, social deteriorating situations will create more conflicts. So we are around the clock on call to solve conflicts, and we try to solve it with a smile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, you know, conflicts arise so much more, like what you were saying. It's a pressure cooker situation. We have a question from Mariana saying that she visited WEAM and met Lucy when they were there, and she's wondering how she is doing and what is she doing now. Yes,
Lucy is among 8 staff members, and everyone has different program. Lucy is helping in women issues alongside other women, and we work and active in many villages around the area as well as in refugee camps. And I believe we are focusing, the women program is focusing on United Nations 1325, on CEDAW, the Convention on Elimination of All Discrimination Against Women, and we try to provide psychosocial support for women and families in general. So Lucy is active in these areas.
Yeah, thank you. Another question was wondering if right now can foreign partners of Palestinians, spouses, continue to live in Bethlehem?
Those who haven't left Bethlehem are still living, and some are allowed in very rare cases. And of course, Bethlehem has lots of churches, monasteries, schools, and there are a lot of expatriates who work there or volunteer, and they kept their presence here. And I heard that the airport will reopen in the middle of September, but I'm not sure if it will be working in full capacity or not. And we welcome you all, despite of all these restrictions. And there are different arrangements and measures to be taken before anyone comes to this area, health-wise, I mean.
Right. So there are still some, partners separated right now, but hopefully can. All right, are there any other questions for Zogby? Otherwise, we'll be wrapping up soon. A lot of comments, Zogby. I don't know if you can see them, just thanking you for your excellent presentation, and I'm so grateful for you sharing with us today. I do want to say thank you also to everyone for joining us today and watching. There will be a link to a video of this gathering, as well as all the links that we shared to be able to continue to do the actions and learn more about WEAM. That will be on the Kumi Now website and on YouTube in a day or so. And we'll be sending it out in the next newsletter. Remember that you can subscribe to Kumi Now on YouTube and subscribe to our newsletter to make sure you receive them and help promote them. And we would greatly appreciate it if you shared this session with your friends and colleagues, as well as inviting them to join our future Kumi Now sessions. So next week, we will be focusing on the blockade of Gaza. And again, you can register for email reminders at kuminow.com/online. And that link will be posted in the chat. Thank you so much, Zogby. It's so good to see you and to hear from you. Yeah, just thinking of you and your family and everyone in Bethlehem.
Thank you, and love to all that people I recognize and new friends, and hopefully to have larger family reunification with you in Jerusalem and Bethlehem.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, thank you. And we hope to see everyone back here next week. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.